This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Tragedy. I'm your co-host, JP John Paz from Two Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me is the Dad Bod God, the Dad Bod Destroyer, Mr. Piers Austin, and of course, the Colonel himself, the King of the Streets, Angel Medina, Kingpin Angel. What's going on, everybody? How you doing?
What's going on, John? Man, like always, man, you give us the best intro, man. I think you should start doing it all the time. It's just like it's like warm milk.
I kind of like what Piers does. Too, like, you know, he's got that great accent, and then he's always talking about the case number, which obviously today is 106. We're focusing on ravishing Rick Rude, but I don't know. I like when Piers does the open too.
Oh, you know, we share it around here, Wrestling with Tragedy. It's not a one-man band, you know, we all keep it going. But guys, before we get into it, maybe we take some time to thank those amazing sponsors that keep this show moving forward and possible. Angel, take it away.
For all you guys out there that definitely looking for a healthcare kick, check out healthvape.com. It definitely is one of the best alternatives for all your smoking needs. It restores vitals, energies, and boosts. Definitely check them out. It's definitely a good product. Use promo code MWAPOD for 10% off. Doesn't have any preservatives, any harmful chemicals, and definitely check them out. Healthvape.com.
That's it. And also, guys, check out Sleeps.com. If you or someone you know is an athlete, you need to check out Sleeps. That's SLEEFS, Sleeps.com. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, compression socks, headband boots, and much, much more. And they've also got those dirty boxes. And you know I'm raving about these dirty boxes every single week. I don't own any other type of boxes, guys. I'm an active guy. I'm running around all day. I work full-time. I got kids. I go to the gym. I do podcasts. These boxes stay fresh, they stay dry, and they've got funky designs on the front of them, so when the belt buckle comes undone at the end of the night, Mrs. Austin starts laughing, and not what's on inside of the boxes, but what's on the outside of the boxes for a change. So check out sleeps.com, get yourself some dirty boxes, use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase.
Nice. Well done, boys. Well, I really wanted to talk about Ravishing Rick Rude, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. One of the
Why is that?
I always liked him just because, you know, when you're like a shit-talking heel and it's like, okay, this guy's going to get his comeuppance, but he was just as tough as the guys he was, you know, shit-talking. Okay, he's smaller than the Warrior technically, but he had a better body, really, than the Warrior. So it's like, okay, this guy's talking shit, but he's backing it up. And as soon as, you know, Warrior turns his back, oh, he nails him. I was like, yeah, screw that guy. I don't know. Some reason I always liked Rude. There's something about him. Just he was so cocky but arrogant, but he could back it up. But he was such a great promo. I don't know, everything. He was just great. The guys wanted to be him, and the girls wanted him. So Rude was one of the best.
No, I mean, his body was chiseled like granite. I mean, he looked like a Greek god. I mean, his abs were phenomenal. I mean, his physique was just extraordinary, and his wrestling talent was like top shelf liquor, man. It was just the finest thing out there. I mean, he had the complete package, especially with Bobby the Brain Heenan in his corner. Definitely gave it more of a umph. You know, I mean, I loved how he yelled at people. You know, I like to have right now all you fat, out of shape, beard, crop belly, beard, you know, all that stuff. He just like keeps the noise down so the ladies can look what a real man looks like. You know, I mean, it was always something impressive about him. You know?
Him and Heenan never got along though, which is weird. You would
Why
think
is that? It looked like they did.
It's weird that they both said that they both didn't need each other, kind of thing. Like Rude can cut promos and be you know, his own guy, but with Heenan, I kind of like the package enhances it. Like it brings him to the next level, I think, for them together. But Rude felt like he didn't need him.
Yeah, I mean, but good.
No, I was just going to say, I think that was going to be my point as well, because it's like you look at the history of what managers are in wrestling. It's usually managers are put with someone who, you know, isn't strong on the mic, or there's a language barrier for whatever reason. So you got the manager there as the hype man, the person to sort of help drive the story forward. Someone like Rick Rude, you know what I mean? He was phenomenal on the mic, could cut phenomenal promos. You put someone like with Bobby Heenan there, but you look where the managers have evolved. I think if you had the Rick Rude, Bobby Heenan combination, you know, if both were still alive in 2022 in their prime, I think you would see a much different performance from both of them. I think it would be much more well received from both, because you got to look, in the last few years, we've seen, before Punk was put with Heyman, Punk can cut a promo. Roman Reigns is put with Heyman. Both can cut a promo, but now they have someone like a Heyman who is very, very good on the mic that they can, bounce off with. I think back then, whereas like, okay, Rick Rude might have looked at it as like, Heenan's stealing my spot. He's, taking away, this is my time to talk. I want to portray who I am. I don't want someone else talking for me.
Yeah, Rude thought he was taking away some of his heat too, which was a problem. But really, Heenan was just helping Rude along, and I think it was great. He's cheating for him. They're going to beat Warrior WrestleMania 5, and he's going to win the IC title. I don't know. It worked well, I think. But for some reason, Rude was like, I don't really need him. He's kind of taking away my heat. They got along, I guess, but they wasn't like the great synergy you expect from a Heenan and a Heenan associate. It was one of the things where like he's almost above it. Like he didn't really need him.
I mean, but there's a lot of athletes out there in the wrestling industry that didn't need a manager, that also had managers that complimented them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can eat Cheerios without milk, but when you put the milk, it just complements it even more. I mean, it's just they don't need each other, but it just helps out. I mean, look at a Freddie Blassie, with Hulk Hogan and stuff like that. I know that Hogan couldn't cut a promo, but I mean, there were certain people that were able to cut promos, but still, the managers just gave him that. It's almost like having a butler, a manservant. You know what I mean? It takes it to the next level. Like, man, this guy got a manager, somebody backing him up. When you have a manager, you have everything going for you. You know what I mean? And stuff. I mean, look at the Iron Sheik. I didn't care if my Iron Sheik have a manager. He's like, you mean Gene, you an intelligent Jew. I mean, his promos were phenomenal. And I wish that was on my ringtone. But anyway. But yeah, Rick Rude, I mean, could hold his own by himself, but it was just to me, it was just a compliment, the garnish on a plate.
Yeah.
My question is about Rick Rude, and let me know if you think it was a timing thing. But Rick Rude looked phenomenal, wrestled amazing, cut amazing promos, had a run with the IC title. How come which is known as the workhorse title, let's face it, and how come he never got a run with the WWF title? How come he never was put in that main event spot? Because this guy looked like $1 billion.
Because he wasn't huge in body size. I'm just going off what I'm assuming. I mean, there were certain individuals that should have got, like Roddy Piper. Why didn't he get a run for the opportunity for the title? It was, I don't know, man. It was just, I just don't think he was one of the massive guys that Vince saw that could hold the top title.
Back then, though, they didn't move the title around much. Like Hogan was a champion for over 1,000 days, and when he wasn't champion, everybody else only champion for a little bit, except Macho Man was champ for the whole year. But he was the 1A to 1B, the Mega Powers. They're together, so it's like almost like an extension of Hogan is still champion. They had the baby face. That was their bread and butter, like Bruno holding the title for 2,000 days, and then another 1,000 days. Pedro Morales for 1,000 days. Backlund for 1,000 days. Hogan for 1,000 days. That just was the way it was then.
San Martino, 5,000 days.
Right, yeah, right. No, 2,000 and then another one for 1,000. But I mean, it was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot.
I was just messing. Like, it was ridiculous.
But it just felt like Rude in that time period during the Hogan era. They're not taking really the title off of Hogan. No. You know what I mean? And Savage is going to be that champion for the year that Hogan wasn't champion. So it's like, you're not really going to do that. Then when Warrior's champion, Rude feuds with him for the world title. He's the perfect foil. Maybe then he wins the title. Warrior can win it back. But I don't know. It's tough to say because back then they didn't throw the titles around. I mean, Perfect should have been world champion if you think about it. Roddy Piper, definitely. Rude, definitely. As far as WWF, it's just they didn't do that then. Orndorff could even been world champion. And
they actually were. Hogan was willing to drop the title to Piper, but he couldn't trust Piper because he didn't think Piper would then drop it back. And I heard Hogan say in an interview that he told Piper years later, he's like, brother, I would have dropped the title to you. We could have had a feud. We could have bounced back and forth, but I just couldn't trust you, man, because it was like, once Piper got that belt, fuck it, I'm not going to drop it to you because obviously back then you're the champ. And I'm not sure what the paydays are like now, but when you're the champion back then, you're the marquee player, you're the guy making the big bucks,
and that wasn't Vince's That wasn't Vince's model, though, to have the heel be champion. His model was for the babyface to have the long run. And even right now, like I know Roman Reigns the heel, but like he's going back to that model where the one guy is the driving force of the whole company, and he's not losing the title. He'll lose matches and count out and whatever, but he's not losing the title. So it's one of the things. Like if Piper was champ, how much more money would they have really made? I mean, Hogan made so much damn money for the company. It's impossible to say that Piper could have made more. It's just it wouldn't have happened. So it's nice to think about, like, oh, would have been kind of cool little storyline. Maybe WrestleMania 2, Hogan wins it back in the cage or something. But
they talked about doing a quick flip, so it would have been maybe like a 6-week run or a 3-week. You know what I mean? I don't know the time frames exactly, but from the way Hogan was talking in this interview, I took it from like, okay, they're going to do like a flip of the title.
But business wise in that era, it's like you can't make more money than they were already making with Hogan. So it doesn't make sense to take the title off him. Just business wise, I would if I was Vince. Smart move, I think.
You know what's funny though? I mean, what's interesting about Rick Rude, especially being from Minnesota, that he went to school with Tom Zink, Barry Darsow, Kurt Hennig, Nikita Koloff, Brady Boone, I think it was, and I think John Nord.
Yep,
and also
Scott Norton.
Oh fuck, the Road Warriors.
They worked at a bar. They were bouncers at a bar together.
Oh, I thought they
were bouncers at a bar.
They became friends later on, but they're all from like the same area.
Yeah, but they will come in. I mean, Rick Rude was really close to Kurt Hennig. They were really kind of like best buds and stuff like that. But he did go to school with all those guys. I think it was in Robindale High School, or high school in Robindale or something like that. So I mean, it was just interesting how a group of individuals all became famous in the professional wrestling, and the people that were in the bar, who became bouncers. Also he was known as a ridiculous like arm wrestling champion. I mean, the guy was just like beating motherfuckers with this massive fucking arm wrestling technique. I mean, do you know about his arm wrestling career?
I just know he's a legend and that he pretty much was not unbeatable, but he used to have tremendous amount of wins. Supposedly all the guys in the back would challenge him and he'd beat them and like all this other shit. But I think Scott Norton was like the only guy that they were saying like wrestler wise that could beat him arm wrestling. Pretty amazing because he's huge. He's got a big arm, but how many other big wrestlers like Warrior and Warlord and Luger and those other gigantic guys that came around? Apparently nobody could beat him arm wrestling.
You know what I heard? I heard that Kurt Hennig used to set him up in like, hey, see that guy there? I mean, like almost like a ringer, like a pool shark. He was just setting him up, and they were winning money in arm wrestling, in the bar. Oh yeah, I could beat him because Rude didn't look so massive. You know what I mean? That's the illusion. So he was just whipping people for cash. So that was pretty interesting in regards to that. But he was pretty badass.
Apparently legit tough guy. Like he
was about it.
Beat the living shit out of people, and in the bars and stuff. Man, he would just beat people up. But that was kind of a good thing in the wrestling business. Then you could be a little bit of a shooter. Like I was watching a WCW match, and I forget the guy, but he was some jobber, and he made a mistake, and he literally really punched Rude. So Rude was like, and he nailed the guy, and the guy, like you could tell, was on wobbly legs. But I was like, "That's great!" Like anytime anybody has a problem or an issue with you in the match, like, all right, I'm like a Lesnar would do. Like, I'm just gonna fucking rack it. I'm just gonna rattle the guy. I'm not gonna kill him, but I'm gonna rattle him. Like, dude, like he did to Braun Strowman when Strowman kneed him or whatever, and he just punched him in the face. He goes, "Slow the fuck down!" Like just like to know that Rude is like a little bit of a shooter. You know what I mean?
But it's funny though. I saw that Rude jumped off the top rope onto, I forgot who it was, but he jumped off the top rope and landed on somebody with his knee and fucked him up pretty bad. I gotta find that footage. It was pretty it's funny now, but it's fucked up then.
A bit of a Rude story. An Australian wrestling legend, Mark Mercedes, who's wrestled all around the world, and during his younger days, he went over to WCW when Rude was there and wrestled him on an episode of WCW Saturday Night. And when I was talking to Mark about this, I was like, what was the experience like? And he's like, mate, it was surreal. He goes, before the show, I went up and introduced myself to him. Rude goes, you smoke? He's like, yes, sir. He goes, let's go have a cigarette. They sat down there. They planned the match out. And he goes, Rude was just like, what would you like to do? And he's like, what? He goes, he gave me more in that match than he should have. And he goes, he was very like giving and it was supposed to be a squash, but Mark was able to get some stuff in when he was a young guy and a no-name talent at the time, just going in there to do a job, but was able to get a little bit of a shine because Rude was that kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah. John, just curiosity. I mean, during Rick Rude's career, during in the classic Memphis wrestling, I mean, he used to have this massive feud with Austin Idol. I mean, he used to come out with this little fucking Chippendale bow tie gimmick
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Was he? I mean, I never saw those matches. Was Rude at the time a face, or was he? It was like almost like heel versus heel? Because I always thought Austin Idol was always the heel.
Austin Idol usually was a heel. I'm not actually sure, because Rude, I was pretty sure most of his time in Memphis was a heel. So it might have been a heel versus heel thing. Memphis did a lot of uncharacteristic stuff that you wouldn't expect. So they might have been heel versus heel. But I always thought Rude was a heel down in Memphis trying to make his way because he was pretty green at that point and still
Green.
making his way through. But to me, I could have been maybe more of a heel versus heel thing. Because Austin Idol as a babyface, it doesn't work.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
But Rick
Yeah.
Rude is a babyface. Like, does
It
that
doesn't
work?
work really either. No.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, because but it's hard. But look at Eric Embry. He was a heel, almost like an Austin Idol, and he became a baby face, and he was like a popular baby face. You know,
Let me
it just
let me let me
depends.
ask you guys this, right? So the Val Venus character, like, I know Rick Rude wasn't a porn star and that was not part of his gimmick, but look at the overall deliverance of the Val Venus character, like coming out, the gyrating and stuff like that. How much of that character do you think was influenced by Rick Rude? Because I always thought, seeing that, because Rick Rude would do the sort of the gyrating in the ring as well, like there was similarities between the two, but not obviously. Rude was never a porn star in a gimmick.
I could definitely see them saying to Val Venus, like, here's your character. You're a porn star, but study Rick Rude, how he moves, and like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to be this crazy off the wall character, but study Rick Rude. This is how we want you to act, almost like that. He almost really looked like him too. You know what I mean? When Rude had the long hair and the facial
Kind
hair,
of.
he kind of looked like him, and he definitely moved like him a lot of the time too. And same type of body type. He wasn't as ripped as Rude, but that same type of body type.
No, makes sense. Makes sense. You know, I could see that. I could see that, but not body type. I mean, the Rick Rude was just ridiculously shredded. You know, so
Yeah. Oh yeah.
the
See,
guy was just.
the thing with Rude though, which is a bad thing, which I've heard from a ton of the guys, is he was known as the guinea pig. So anytime there was a new steroid or a new drug to try, he was the first guy in. He was all aboard. So yeah, he's ripped. Yeah, he's shredded. Rumored to be big steroid guy. I don't know if that's a big surprise to anybody, considering how jacked he was and how he literally had like 0% body fat. But that was something the boys always said was like, oh, if there was a new steroid or something to try, he would be the first one on board to try and say, this is good, this is bad. I wouldn't do that. Like, he was really a guy that was open to trying a lot of the steroids and drugs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was jacked on. I knew for a fact he was on the gimmicks, man. I mean,
Right.
but
It's gotta be, yeah.
we all were. You know, it was part of the culture. You know,
I'm just uploading a couple of photos so we can sort of have a look at it, because
he
like,
just wants to look at his body and drool.
Yeah.
well, no, because like not all people are gonna be, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, not everyone who takes steroids is gonna be like massive units. Like, there's different things for, like, you know what I mean, to get
It just
cut up.
depends on the dedication, man. I mean, it just depends on
Yeah.
the person's dedication.
And genetics too, yeah.
Yep, and money is an expensive habit.
Yeah. Where is this image? Anyway, keep talking.
Plus, he seems like the kind of guy, how intense he is and how hard he works. He just seems like he'd be at the gym 24/7. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't seem like he's the guy taking a day off or a week off at the gym. You know, he's pretty dedicated.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you John? What was your thoughts about Rick Rude coming into ECW? I mean, it was kind of short, but it was kind of. I mean, would you think it would have fit in the ECW during the Shane Douglases and the Pitbulls and all that stuff during that time? Do you think he would have held his own?
Oh yeah, for sure. I just thought that was awesome because what a surprise! Like, what the hell? Like, Rick Rude in ECW. First of all, it's like, what the hell? That doesn't make sense. But it was great because obviously he had a relationship with Heyman from being Dangerous Alliance and being WCW, so it does kind of make sense. But him showing up was awesome. What a surprise! I don't know what Heyman was going for with the mask. Remember when he had the mask in ECW, but you knew it was Rick Rude clearly. So I don't know what he was going for with that exactly, but I don't know, just to me, I just thought it was great just to have wow, holy shit, Rick Rude is in ECW of all things. I know him and and Shane Douglas had a few run-ins there, and some weren't so good apparently.
I didn't know about that. You know, fill me in.
So when you guys went to Pittsburgh and when ECW was in Pittsburgh, Shane would always get cheered. So almost like nowadays where a lot of the heels, like MJF gets cheered in his hometown, Punk, no matter what, always get cheered in Chicago. You know, certain guys in certain towns always get cheered no matter what. Heel face. Brett in Canada is the perfect thing. He's really a heel, but he's getting cheered as a babyface in Canada. So in Pittsburgh, Shane said it was the alternate version of like the universe. He would get cheered like a babyface. And Paul Heyman was like, okay, this is great. Like, oh, you're a face here, but you're a heel everywhere else. Just go with it. Like, don't try to get a heel. He'd go with it. So he'd be a baby face in Pittsburgh. When he got to the back, Rude goes, you're a real shitty heel. So Rude Rude didn't care for that. He just didn't like that about it. And then he was saying that, you know, there was a couple times like he felt like the cursing, he was using the cursing to get some cheap heat and stuff. So for some reason, Rude, I don't know if it was tough love or what, because he said he was friendly with him, but he said there was a couple times where they had some altercations where he was really hard on him, saying like, that's a shitty heel move, cheap heat. Like he would get on him for stuff. And he told Pitbull number 2 during the feud and stuff that he didn't like some of the some of the offense, saying that, because Anthony Durante was a bigger guy and that he should, sell a little bit differently, or he should give him more. And there was a few things in the match, and Shane overheard Rude telling Anthony Durante before one of the matches, like, hey, he's got to do this and he's got to do that. So Shane kind of pulled him aside. He's like, let him talk to me about that and stuff. He's like, no, he needs help and he needs to be moved along. So they had some.
Hey, Angel, how's that gum?
It's good.
Yeah, our listeners are
It's real good. It helps my depression.
Oh, keep chewing, brother.
I was getting nauseous, so I needed something sweet. But anyway,
we're just teasing you, brother.
No, but go ahead, John. What were you saying?
Well, he just had some issues with him, and I could see, maybe having a little bit of a point, but it was just funny. Rude just flat out was telling him like, shitty heel. You know what I mean? Just was not rude or anything, but he was really just being overly honest with him.
So what do you think he would have thought of Steve Austin, at this time? Well, not this time, but during the time of the King of the Ring when he became hot. What do you think it would be, cheap heat? Do you think he would have said the same thing? I'm just wondering.
I don't know. Maybe not though. I'm not sure about that. But for some reason, he just maybe had a problem with Shane being the top guy in ECW. I'm not sure, but
but also, like, you got to look at the history of Shane. Like, I big appreciator of Shane's work. I'm always a big fan of his. But his relationships in the business have always been pretty questionable. You know what I mean? Like, he's had a lot of problems. Yeah, like he's had a lot of problems with a lot of different people over the years.
He was
nice. Do you think he was? I'm sure he was nice to a lot of people, but I'm saying, like, do you think he may have taken? You know what I mean? Like Rick Rude said, "Hey, man, like you could do a bit better as a heel out there." You know what I mean? Like, and he may have taken it the wrong way and have been like, "Who the fuck are you? This is I'm the king of ECW here," and you know what I mean? Do you think that could have been his mentality?
Possibly. He said he looked up to Rude and he just like took his advice and stuff, and he said never like fought him about it, but he said could tell, but he could tell Rude was like a little ornery, like about some of the things, and you need to listen to me. I'm the veteran here. So Shane, took it with honor, I guess, and just kind of went his own way. But I think there was definitely some tension there, but he was always unsure as to why.
But that's interesting because, like, Shane seems like the sort of guy that has zero fucks given and been like that since, the earliest stage. Yeah. I would have thought he would have gone, fuck this guy, you know what I mean? So him saying like he took the high road obviously shows his respect for the business and obviously respect for Rude. But I found it interesting because I know he had a run-in with Scott Hall previously and Ric Flair and stuff like that. So the fact that he respected Rude, but to be honest, Rude was a man's man, bro. Like, I think if Shane would have like mouthed back up,
he would have knocked Shane out. Yeah,
clean.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, Shane was not that. I mean, I'm not saying Shane wasn't a tough guy, but I don't think he would hold the candle up against Rude. I mean, Rude was a badass, But hey, look, you don't know that, but look at Joey Styles knocking at Bradshaw. I mean, just take one hit. You never know.
Yeah.
Hey, Joey's a black belt in karate, so hey, watch out.
Yeah.
Very true. But you know, it's interesting because we're talking about Rude and Heenan and not really liking that dynamic. But when Rude was in WCW, he was put in the Dangerous Alliance, which is a stable, which is, to be honest, like he fit well in that stable. But again, Rude's the kind of guy I think his best performances are when he's solo.
Yeah, I agree. But the Dangerous Alliance, he's like the lead horse. So it's
Yeah.
like, yes, Paulie Dangerous is there. Yes, you have Medusa with him, but was like the focal point. Yes, you had Steve Austin. Yes, you had Bobby Eaton, Orange, Zabisco. I mean, literally one of the greatest factions ever. I wish they got a longer run. It's just so damn good of a faction. But he was the lead horse, so I think that was okay. Like, he's the focus. Like, he's the U.S. champion. Then he's going after the world title. He's feuding with Sting. Then he wins the international title, aka the NWA world title, and he's feuding with Flair and stuff. So he was always like the lead horse in that group. So I think that's why he didn't really. I think that's why I liked the group, really.
Yeah, because it was built around him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. He used to have some great feuds with Sting. I mean, I just felt bad that he hurt his back in Japan when he hit his back on the bottom of his back on those that lip of the.
Oh, that was right in his neck. Yeah.
Yeah. Just really hit him at that spot and fucked him up. I mean, but I heard he was going to be making a comeback during the time. That's why he was training at the gym real heavy, because he was feeling better now and his body was on point, and he was going to make another run before he passed.
That is true. He was trying to anyway. Yeah. He was trying to make another run. And when that happened, it's crazy. So the match in Japan, they have that up that stage almost where it goes up a little bit higher in the dome. So it's up a little bit. So he's got a little bit of a lift.
Like a 4-inch lift or something like that. It was high, but not high.
So it's like a little, it's off the ground, but it's not like crazy high. So when Sting does that awesome like tope or that launch outside from the ring onto the floor, Rude's neck got caught right where the end of that lift is. So it like went down and all Sting's 250 pounds went down on him and he kind of rolled. But the funny thing is, Rude is fine right then and there. He doesn't notice it till afterwards because they wrestle a match. Rude wins the match. He's the champ again. So it's like it wasn't one of the things where he hurt his neck and then he was done. Like then he could paralyzed, could move. No, he still wrestles the rest of the match and he wins. So the match is great. If anybody wants to go back and watch it, I mean, it's great.
Well, it's right here. If you look, I mean, it's a still, but see that lip?
Yep.
Yeah.
And see how Sting did that high cross body? I mean, and then boom. And that's how it happened.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
just a total accident. I mean, crazy. And Sting and Rude had also.
But you know, what's funny is he allegedly blamed Sting for being careless when he did that dive. Yeah,
what do you think, Angel? Like, as a worker perspective, you just seen the incident. Who's at fault there, or is it just an accident?
It was an accident because I mean, it's not careless because Rude was prepared to catch him. I mean, I didn't think it was gonna. I mean, you don't really think about that lip, you know. I mean, it's nothing like a table, glass, or anything around there. It was. I don't think he was being careless. I just think he was in the heat of the moment and took a dive, and Rude was ready to catch him, and he took his regular bump. You know?
Do you think they just didn't calculate the landing of it more?
No, they just realized I don't think they realized the stage. You know, they just didn't put that into in that factor. You know?
Definitely, and it's awkward because that's really the only place they'll wrestle where it has a stage like that. It was in Japan, so it's definitely an accident. Like, how the hell can you even prevent it or whatever? Rude definitely wasn't ready for it. Sting definitely didn't know it. You know what I mean? Just happened.
Yeah, they had some heat. They had heat. They had heat against each other. You know,
I mean, when you end someone's career, I'm sure there's going to be heat about it, and there's going to be, he's going to be pissed. Man, you're taking away his livelihood.
I mean, they made up. I mean, eventually they made up after Rude came back to WCW, but it was just some heat at the time.
But he went to, after retiring, he did his stint with, at ECW in '97. Made his return to WWF in 1997 on August 11th as the insurance policy for D-Generation X, which with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and China, which at the time, D-Generation X was probably one of the hottest groups in the late 90s in professional wrestling, starting out as heels and, wanting to see him get that heat. And him as a manager didn't really say much. It was always there. He was an intimidating figure, hence the insurance policy.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool just because it was so random. It's like, wow, Rude is back. Holy shit. Okay, cool. And you're hoping he's going to come back and wrestle, but you're like, okay, I wonder what this is leading to. So it's kind of cool that he's with Michaels and he's with that group. It definitely enhanced the group because to me, I wasn't really big on DX, Michaels, and Triple H together. I mean, Chyna's okay. She was as far as at that point in time, she was just okay and she wasn't as over yet. But I feel like Rude added some credibility and some legitimacy to the group, and I was just like, well, that's kind of cool. Like Rude is with Michaels, like that's interesting. Kind of made Michaels, you're able to cheat more and do some more things because you got Rude as your backup. So it was cool, and I thought it was interesting to have him be with that group. It's almost like, wow, Rude is back and he's with DX. Like, just kind of shocked you.
Like, it didn't really look like it was it didn't look like it fit, but it did in a way.
Yeah. It was like a weird time there because it's like, why is Rude really back? Can he wrestle? Will he wrestle? Why is he with Michaels? Like, you had like a million questions of what he was doing back, but obviously, he's a big name from the Hogan era, so it's great to have him back.
But also, like, he never did the suck it or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, he was still Rick fucking Rude. He was still a man's man. He wasn't going to be like doing crotch chops and stuffing like gauze down his fucking pants and doing that goofy shit. I've put more of that badass feel into DX at the beginning stages of it.
But just curiosity, when he made that appearance in WCW and back and forth, I mean, was he on the contract with WWE or F at the time before he made that jump and he didn't give a fuck, or did he just jumped over because he didn't have a contract?
So the Montreal screw job happened. And he was pissed. He's boys with Bret Hart. He was pissed. He didn't like the way Vince handled it. He didn't like the situation. They only had a handshake deal, no contract, nothing written. So he just said, fuck it. I quit. Not giving you notice. I'm literally quitting, and I'm going to be on Nitro the following week. So 8 days later was 11/17/1997. He's on Nitro. But, at that point, Raw, they taped 2 shows. So on that night, he's also on Raw. He was on both Raw and Nitro on the same night. Never happened with anybody else. Never happened again. Just one of the things that people remember when you think about the Monday Night Wars and all these legendary things that happens, all these legendary moments. Who's the only guy to appear on the same show or 2 different shows on the same night, Raw and Nitro? Ravishing Rick Rude. Just amazing that he's on, and they know it too. And Bischoff knew, like, okay, we taped, he's going to be on. Like, all right, we're going to have you live this week, and we're going to make a big deal, and you're going to join the NWO, and you're going to come in, and you're going to cut a nice little shoot promo, and it's going to be great. But how crazy was like, holy shit, wait, what the fuck? He's on both channels? And this is before I even realized, as a kid, I'm like 15, 16. I'm like, wait a second, how the hell is he on both shows? You realize, they taped that the week earlier, and now he's on Nitro live. Very, very cool stuff.
And what do you think Vince's reaction during that time when that happened? I mean,
he probably snapped. He probably snapped.
I mean, because it's being aired. It's recorded. It's being aired. I'm surprised he didn't fucking pull the shit off the, go to a commercial. That type of shit. How was that's what was just
probably didn't realize till after, though. You know what I mean? Like, Vince isn't sitting there watching WCW though when he's running.
And he probably had no idea that he was going to just show up on TV. Hennig literally probably, I'm sure Hennig threw Bischoff. Actually, Bischoff was probably pretty friendly with him too at that point. Eventually, was not very friendly with him, but he was probably friendly with him too a little bit at that point. It was probably like, hey, let's bring you in. It'd be awesome. You know what I mean? Let's add another big name and like, oh shit, you were taped. Oh, I wonder if they're going to use it on tape. If they do, that's great because you'll be on both shows. So, I mean, it worked out perfectly for him.
No, that makes sense. I mean,
but I think he was in the first segment on the WWF show on Raw. I think that's why, like, it was on the first segment. Then, like, I think they had him on the second segment. I could be completely wrong, and my memory might be steering me incorrect there. But that was I thought.
But how crazy is that, though? That you can actually pull that off, It's like, you're going to be at 2 shows on the same night.
But the funny thing was, from memory, I think he had a beard, or he had like on WWF, and then he turned up in WCW and he just had the mo, or he was clean shaved. It was like there was a distinct look change.
I think he had the mustache. Yeah, I think he had his mustache, and then in WWE he had a beard. I mean, I'll look it up real quick.
How great is that, though? He's in the NWO now. You know what I mean? How great is that? After just being in DX and ditching.
Well, exactly. Like how many people have been in DX and NWO? X-Pac, and Rude.
Well, you don't count the stupid WWE remake, right?
Oh, fuck.
Where they put Shawn Michaels in it.
Yeah, that was no. But imagine if they put Triple H in NWO back then as well. Like how fucking like, dude, just call it the Click. Like fuck.
Yep. Yeah, so stupid. Yeah. Crazy. But and it's just crazy to think that. So Rude,
he had a beard.
Really,
he had a beard on Raw and a mustache on.
He shaved it. Yeah, he shaved it down.
Yeah, so he had both.
So he injures his neck, right? So he takes out the Lloyd's of London insurance policy, which a lot of the guys did. And apparently they all got huge paydays. Road War Animal did it. Shawn Michaels did it. Mr. Perfect did it. You know, they all probably got together and they talked like, man, Lloyd's of London is paying out these crazy insurance policies. The only thing is we can't wrestle for a certain period of time. And if you do want to wrestle in a certain period of time, you take out a certain amount of money, you have to pay that back. So
of course, it's a claim.
Yeah. So it's basically a big claim. And if you're going to do that and you're going to wrestle again, you got to pay the money back. So Rude training wants to come back. And obviously he comes to WCW. If you looked at him in ECW, it's like, okay, shit, this guy's in fucking great shape. Like he could wrestle. He even does some Rude Awakening stuff. You can tell like this. Okay. Then you see him in WWF for like, shit, he's he's being an ass kicker. He's kicking guy's ass, looks in awesome shape. Is he going to get back in the ring? Then WCW, he still looks even better shape. So like, and him and Kennig are beating the shit out of people. So it's like, okay, can he wrestle? So he goes to Bischoff and he says, pay out the insurance claim, which was like $450,000 or $500,000 or something. He goes, and I'll come back. And Bischoff's like, I can't get that approved. There's no way I could do that. He's like, oh, you're ATM Eric, just do it. You know what I mean? Like, but he's already paying him a contract. And on top of that, he would have to put in $500,000. Like he was saying, there's no way he could ever get that approved because everybody else that, he's paying this guy, paying that guy, but that's for the guy's contract to wrestle. He already has a contract to be, to be a manager and be a part of the NWO and everything else. So it would almost be like, okay, we're paying you $200,000. Then we're going to put $500,000. So we're going to pay you $700,000. Like you're going to get Macho Man money, and we don't even know, like, your physical.
If you can go.
Yeah, if you can go and stuff. So it's like, wow, like that's kind of risky. So he said there's no way he could ever get it approved. Bischoff was saying that. So apparently Rude after that just hated him, and his family hated him after that. They blamed Bischoff for that.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Bischoff wouldn't pay out the cash?
Yeah. So when Bischoff went to his funeral, Bischoff got kicked out.
Wow.
They blamed him for him not being able to return. Yeah. Even though it's not technically his fault. You just have to wait it out, the policy. So it's almost like he wanted to cash out the policy and he got the money for the claim and everything. Yeah. So then he wanted WWE to pay off on top of that. So he got to keep the money. Then he pays off $500,000. You know what I mean? It didn't make sense. I know business wise you could say, oh, Rude can make the money back, but not that lump sum just like that. I mean,
that's ridiculous. That's kind of ridiculous. Like you know what I mean? Like to just expect that, and it sounds like Bischoff just went, no, I'm not going to fucking pay that just because you're asking me to. And put yourself in in Bischoff's position as the promoter, the booker, the guy in charge of that. If you said yes to every single fucking thing, your name would be Tony Khan. But you know what I mean? Like your business would be turned to shit. None of the boys would respect you. So it's kind of like Bischoff had to probably stand his ground quite a few times, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious, John. I mean, we were just talking a little while ago about he not getting a heavyweight title run. He was only getting the Intercontinental title because that's the workhorse, but he was never given the opportunity to become a heavyweight champion. In '93, in Fall Brawl, he wrestled Ric Flair and won the title.
Yep.
Do you think winning that title would have eventually got him a WWE title run when he would have went back as a heavyweight championship? Would that have gave him the accolade to like, yeah, I beat Ric Flair. Look at that. People popped. I can put asses in seats. Give me the opportunity.
No, because Vince was already dead set on the new generation by that point. So if he would have returned, like really in '97 when he returned, let's say he comes back, I would have been like, man, this guy should be world title material or maybe world champion. Yeah. But Vince was already headed in a different direction. So he almost was like Rude was old guard to him, and he was ready pushing, the Michaels, the Diesels, the Bret Harts, and then forward for a lot of the guys. So I think he was kind of past his prime to be WWF World Champion, but I always consider him WCW Champion. I mean, technically, when he beat Flair, it's the NWA title. They turn into the international title. It's a world title. It's funny when people are like, "Oh, it doesn't count." It does count. Of course, it counts. Roman Reigns was champ and Lesnar was champ. There's 2 world champions on the same show. It's the same thing. So Rude definitely was world champion. Just was a shame he was never WWF champion. I almost think that maybe, I know he left right after SummerSlam 1990, but I almost think that he probably should be Warrior for the title.
I think him beating Warrior would have been a good segue, because I think he could have got under the skin of the Warrior. You look at the gimmick of what he was and how he would incorporate his ring gear to sort of like mind fuck his opponents in a lot of ways. And I
Slaughter
think
was Slaughter was the transitional champion. Why couldn't Rude have been the transitional champion to Hogan, you know?
I think Rude, to personally honest, I think Rude was a way better performer than Sergeant Slaughter in-ring, promo-wise. Like, he couldn't be touched. But do you think there may have been, like, what was Rude like backstage? Like, was he a bit reckless? Was he a bit wild? Was he not reliable? Do you think that was the reason? Did he have a stained relationship with Vince?
No, I think that the same thing with all those great guys that were in the world. It's just that there wasn't enough, to go around. Like, that wasn't in the plan. The plan was Hogan. Then the plan was Savage for a year, but really still Hogan is the man. Then he decided to go to the Warrior. Then he realized that wasn't working. So let's do an awesome Iraqi turncoat of one of the most famous G.I. Joe characters, probably the most famous G.I. Joe character of all time. A guy that made money without them, which means he's a huge star internationally. Like the Comic-Con guy, if you will. Like, he's a wrestler, he's an actor, he does G.I. Joe, he does cartoon. I mean, he's such a big name, but him to turn heel, like, okay, we'll just have him be the transitional champ back to Hogan. So it never felt like it was a lot of those guys turn, just because like that just wasn't the way they did business back then. It's just the way it was. Man, if those guys were around today, it's like Edge being like 7-time champ. Rude would have been 7-time champ. I mean, Rude's 10 times better than Edge, but you know what I mean? Like, as far as like the level of star like that they would do. I mean, like, if Ziggler wins the title a few times, then Hennig would have won it a few. It's just not the way they did business back then.
It's funny though, looking at Rick Rude's accolades in regards of championships, it looks like he won more titles in WCW. I mean, he won the World International title 3 times.
Yep.
He won the U.S. Championship 1 time. He was even tag team champions, the Mid-Atlantic version with Manny Fernandez 1 time. But only in WWE, he only won the NWA title. I mean, NWA. He only won the WWE title, Intercontinental title, 1 time, and Hall of Famer, and 1988 Royal Rumble winner, and a Slammy Award winner, and the Jesse Abadi Award. I mean, it basically didn't get enough. I mean, not enough meat.
In 1988, the Royal Rumble winner, did they get a shot at the world title or at Mania? Because I believe there was a couple Royal Rumble winners there. There was no main event at Mania. It was just like, you've won the fucking Royal Rumble.
I think that's what it was.
No, it was at that point, 88, it's nothing. That was just one of those like house show, like Royal Rumble kind of things. It wasn't the official Royal Rumble. That was 88, was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but he never got a title shot for it or anything. Like, not even 89, they didn't do that. 90, obviously, Hogan's a champion, he wins. 91, Hogan's a champion, he wins. Then 92 is actually for the belt. 93 is the first time that they did, like, you're the number 1 contender for the title, when Yokozuna won it.
Yeah. I would have loved to see it.
I just think that's the way it was back then. Like, not a lot of guys won the title. Like, Demolition was tag champs for a year. You know what I mean? Like, they just didn't throw the title around to everybody. If that was nowadays, the Bushwhackers, like the New Day, is like 8-time champs. The Bushwhackers are exactly like the New Day. They would have been 8-time champs nowadays. It's just not the way they did business back then. It was like, the guy's going to be champ for a while. Honky Tonk Man's going to be IC champ for a year. Savage is IC champ for a year. You know what I mean? They gave the guy title, but it was usually for a while. Like, they didn't throw around the titles that much back then.
Well, I mean, my thought process in regards to the title is that, I mean, they built a story around it. I mean, when they got to that point where the guy was in a steel cage match, no way to get out, I mean, it was just something that you build that story to have people hate you. You got to get that title back. You got to get that, that belt back from this evil, this heel. Now everybody's winning titles left and right. It's not. That's why when I watch wrestling now, I mean, I don't watch it as much. Why would I want to watch SummerSlams, WrestleMania, and all these other stuff if it's already being pushed and winning titles on the regular channel?
Yep.
You know what I mean? WrestleMania is
Like,
supposed
there's
to be a
no
treat.
reason to, there's
Yeah,
no reason to tune in and pay that extra to see like a pay-per-view if you're going to see the same match and see people drop titles on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, I just don't see the purpose, man. I mean, look at I'm trying to, oh man, look at I mean, when you built the story, I know there was no title involved, but look at the Mega Powers, man. You build it, and then you're like, man, I gotta watch SummerSlam. I gotta watch the Mega Powers implode. Because Macho Man, I hate your guts, and stuff, and he's sweating.
You think
I
it's
mean,
because people's attention spans have shrunken over the years? Like, you know what I mean? Like, people want to see shit now. They want it now. They don't want to have to sit and wait. They don't want to get the surprise. Like, could you imagine if there was no dirt sheets around and Cody's fucking return at Mania was so fucking kept kayfabe that then you heard his music fucking start. There's more than one royal family, and then his emo song starts playing and he comes out. The reaction, the pop would have been fucking huge. His debut would have meant something because basically everyone knew he was going to debut at Mania. They knew he was going to be facing Seth Rollins. So when he came out, it was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, make that shit mean something. Whereas I think back in the day, they could make that stuff like Root turning up on WCW. That was a complete shock to everybody, including the WWF guys. Whereas today, there's not much way of getting around that.
But I think they're kind of with Roman Reigns, though. They're kind of going back to that old school method. He's not on every show. He doesn't wrestle on every show. He's only defended the title on SmackDown twice, I think, and he's been champ for 600 plus days. I think it's 601 officially as we're recording this, but it feels like they're going old school in that sense, almost like Hogan, where like he rarely wrestled on TV, and if you could see him in the house shows, definitely go see him in the house shows. But his big matches, his big title matches, are on pay-per-view. So I feel like they're going old school with Reigns a bit, and in that regard.
Yeah,
well, they did that with Brock Lesnar as well.
Yeah, he hardly was on. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, but it's just that the other thing is just like I said, it's just the tag teams and stuff. It's just, it just loses its luster. That's just my opinion. It just didn't build up that anticipation of like what's going to happen. It's like,
but I don't think anything like it's like bad about Rude or Piper or Perfect, or like those guys that their accolades in WWF weren't as much. Like now, forget about it. The guys like they try to make them win every title and their resume be huge. It's just the way it was back then. It's just the way the business was with like, not everybody needs to be champ all the time. You were good enough to stand on your character. Like he's Rick Rude. He's ravishing Rick Rude. He doesn't need to be champ. Like a lot of the guys in today's wrestling, like they need the title to be over.
Well, it's not about. I don't think it's about him getting to be over. Sometimes you get the title because they see you as like, hey man, out of respect, like you know, like hey, not an attaboy thing, but just to give him the like, man, dude, you busted your ass, you deserve this. Tommy Dreamer didn't want to. He wanted to be the only wrestler never to win a title, some crazy shit like that, until he won the title in the ECW arena. Yep. But he didn't want to win a title. He wanted to have a record of like never winning a title. If I remember. Yeah, it was some.
Yeah, he never wanted to be a champion in ECW. I remember seeing him say that on what was it? The Rise and Fall of ECW. I think he made that.
Yeah, something like that.
But guys, you know what? We're getting to that mark, and I really feel like this episode with Rick Rude has been really good, and I think that we could possibly do a part 2. How are you guys feeling about it?
I don't know, man. I'm down for it. I don't know how much meat on the bone to do it, but I could definitely see us doing it. John pauses a plethora of knowledge.
I could talk about Rude all day. I love Rick Rude.
You just like it because he had, Cheryl picture on his crotch.
Oh, Cheryl Roberts, yeah. That was another thing. That was so funny. I sent you guys that picture the day.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, obviously Ric Flair was married to Wendy, or I guess they weren't officially married, which was weird because I could have sworn they had a wedding ceremony, but they were saying that they were never officially married. But that's so funny when Rick Rude was shooting with Ric Flair at the point you were talking about Fall Brawl. Fifi the maid is Wendy, who was Flair's wife, I guess not wife, whatever you want to call her, girlfriend, longtime girlfriend, was on both of his tights. I love when he used to do stuff like that, like the tights. That's just like, wow, that's so awesome. He's putting money like really back into his character and investing it, and it just really stood out. Everyone noticed. Ventura used to talk about it. He went to Jesse Body War, but he used to talk about it crazy. Like, look at the tights today. Oh, look, the the Ultimate Puke is on there. The Ultimate Warrior's on there. You know, look at Cheryl Roberts. Or I always loved that when he used to do that. Such a cool, unique thing that nobody else ever did.
Yeah, no, I like it. But you know what? It's a way to get heat, because I think when he did Jake the Snake Roberts' wife on the front, he put it on
Cheryl.
the crotch.
Yeah.
When he had, you know what I mean? Like, dude, how disrespect, you know what I mean? Like, as a heel, that's the thing. You get that sort of level of heat.
Can't be any worse. Can't be any worse what Roberts did. Have we told you that story, Pause?
No. What did he do to you?
When I was a rookie, when I was a green, we were doing a show in Jersey, and here's this when Robert's all, you know, all doped up, and so he goes
doped up from the floor up.
Yeah, he was just whatever gimmicks he was on, and he literally pulled his pants down, and over his groin he has a tattoo. I don't know if he still has it to this day, but he had the tattoo of Cheryl over his crotch.
Whoa.
And we're like, and you know, new guys like, huh? You know, looking at his crotch, and it's fucking showing. It was over his groin, like over his cock, you know, like a rainbow. Cheryl.
Yep.
Like that.
Yeah, over it. Yeah, like right on his groin. So we're like, what the fuck? And, you know, and we're like, Cheryl. He goes, yeah, don't ever get your wife's name on your crotch because it'll fuck up a blowjob when you're fucking another chick.
I can see that being a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that. And I'm like, man, what the fuck? Yeah. So, hey, I'd rather have Rick Rude's tights all day, every day instead of over on my crotch. You know,
I thought he had the name tattooed on his dick.
No, it's on over his crotch, over his dick. You know, true story. True fucking story, man. It's
now
still
Piers,
embedded in my.
Now Piers wants to meet Jake.
Yeah, now you're gonna meet Jake. Hey, Jake, is that true? He probably got it like lasered off or something. But if not, brother, show me. You know,
show me the Cheryl.
Show me the Cheryl tattoo. What are you talking about, kid? You know, true story, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm willing to talk about Rick Rude. I mean, like I said, John could definitely talk about Rick Rude all day, every day. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff about Rude that still hasn't been brought up. You know, I'm down for it for a part 2.
We could talk about all the great feuds with Ricky Steamboat and Dustin Rhodes and WCW and Sting, of course. We could talk about, obviously, we didn't even get to the death and what kind of surrounded it and how he was found and what it was. So, I mean, there's a lot of meat on the bone there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So definitely let's do it.
All right, Wrestling with Tragedy fans, viewers, listeners, we are going to be bringing you case number 107 next week, Rick Rude part 2, and we are going to be diving deep into Rick Rude next week. But guys, make sure you check out our sponsors, healthvape.com, your healthy vaping alternative. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount. But while you're checking out things online, check out sleeps.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to also get a 10% discount. But John, you're hosting the show tonight, brother. You take us home.
Piers, thank you. Kingpin, thank you. And thank you, everybody out there, for listening. We'll see you right back here next time on Wrestling with Tragedy. See you next week, folks.
Peace.
This is Vince Russo's The Brain.